Hello and welcome to the Lone Show. I'm your host, John Lone. In this episode, don't have regulars, because reasons, I guess. As for our guest, she's from the United Kingdom. She is an award-winning coach, best-selling author, and speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Debbie Bryan. Yay! So, how's life?
Worried about the beginning of the year, but I have some really exciting stuff happening, family life, business life. So yeah, we're really off to a great start.
Great. And is there anything else you've been working on at the moment?
So right now I am preparing for a TEDx talk on the 2nd of February. That's the biggest thing that's happening for me at the moment. It's my first TEDx, and I'm flying to Canada at the end of the month, and I'm the first on the stage on the day. So I'm preparing for that, outfits, talking, hotels. That's a great thing. That's something that I've wanted in my speaking business and my coaching business for a long time. If you believe in the manifestations and that side of it, which I'm always a little bit, I call myself woo curious. I'm not very woo. I'm always a little bit interested in what it's all about because I don't understand it very much. So it's something that I've been able to visualize for a long time of like myself on the stage. And this year I want to take the speaking to another level. I want to be able to help and to inspire more people to understand that like the worst case scenario isn't actually your real scenario, that there's always a yes. You just sometimes have to look a bit harder for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't really believe, this is going to sound awful, and I mean it's in the best way, but I don't really believe in the word no. I just believe that no means you're asking the wrong person. And that's not in a creepy way. That's just if you're getting a no from somebody and you believe there's a yes, you believe there's a better way, you believe that there's a possibility, then if you're getting a no, then the person's not aligned with you and they're not the person that you should be asking. You maybe need to go and ask another person or find a different way.
Yes, absolutely. So, what has inspired you to take the path you have taken for so many years?
I mean, for me, I suppose where I am now and the path I'm on now, it goes back to a car accident I had 13 years ago, the end of the month, where I had a very near-death experience, thought I was going to die, and then didn't. So consider myself to be really lucky in terms of like I smashed my leg up, but I was alive. And then the doctors then gave me scenarios like the very next day that I would not be able to use my leg. And at the time I had a hairdressing salon in a health club. So I was very active. I had 3 children that were very active, all boys. And I had my own business. I had a hairdressing salon. And, that's not so conducive with a broken leg. I didn't really understand what a broken leg was all about then. I thought it was, 6 weeks in a cast and then back to your normal life. And for me, it wasn't that scenario. So when they said to me, you're going to lose the use of your leg, I just said, no, that's not right. That's not the right answer. And they went away and reconsidered and came back 4 times. And on the 4th time, they gave me a solution that said I would be able to use my leg. I probably wouldn't have full flexibility and full thing, but I would be able to use it. So I said, okay, that's great. And I never thought that was an option, to be honest. I never realized there was an option that you could negotiate with a surgeon in terms of your results. But being very optimistic in terms of feeling like I was lucky, I had the surgery and then I did everything that I was told to do, which is really unusual for me. I'm not a person that likes rules very much, but I was like, if I do everything they say, I'll get back to where I was. And then a year later, they told me that I'd be in a wheelchair at 55. And I just thought, oh, damn it. Now I'm going to have to fight that as well, which I then did for the next 10, 11 years. So I suppose really where I am now is that I learned the hard way that you can have a better business if you don't work in the business and you work on the business, because I couldn't walk for 6 months. And then I learned that actually you can do anything you want to do if you really want to do it. If you want to prove somebody wrong or you want to prove yourself right, that's the opportunity. The same year that I should have been in a wheelchair at 55 was the year that I cycled around India, 360 kilometers in 5 days. So when I say if there's something that you want to do, I go from impossible to I am possible, which is the title of my TED talk. But you can actually change the outcome. I felt like the doctors gave me the worst case scenario because they had to give me the worst case scenario. That didn't have to be my scenario. I don't know if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yes, it does make sense.
And so since I've told, and I didn't even start talking about this really until after that 55th birthday, I had a little bit of a jinx in my mind that someone somewhere, if I started talking about it, would remember there's a wheelchair with my name on it and might suddenly deliver it. So I kept it all very quiet. And then I was fundraising for India to just be able to just change your whole future based on what you think you should be behaving like.
Yes, absolutely.
So
And
that's when I was going to say that's one of the reasons for the speaking, for the TED Talk, is to say, if I can get, there's so many people out there that have kind of given up hope and thinking that's okay for you, but for me there's nothing, there's no opportunities. My mission is to put a hand out to those people and give them a hands up, to just, if they reach out their hand, to give them a hand up and say, hey, do you know what, let's look at the possibilities for you. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be wealthy or rich to make your life a better place.
yes, I can certainly see that. As a speaker, how many speaking opportunities have you done so far?
So I've only really started speaking for myself. So it's a two-edged thing. I'd wanted to be a speaker and I'd worked with some really big coaches in the UK and actually spoke quite a lot, but very much spoke a lot about their business, about their ethos, trained people on social media, trained people, businesses and entrepreneurs, hundreds, and spoke in front of I think the biggest crowd was about 400. And then it's only really in the last year that I've started speaking about this. So this is kind of like a new thing. And it's much, much harder to talk about yourself than it is to talk about someone else's product. So if I talk about like now, talking about myself and my story, then really I've only been speaking in the last year. I spoke at Columbia University, I spoke at Oxford University, Cambridge University. I think I was on about 55 podcasts last year, some of them mine, some others, radio stations. I've got a chapter in a book that talks about it. So I've made it a mission to I just think if I was lucky, then everyone should be lucky. And so to give that opportunity, and that's one of the reasons, obviously, for doing the TEDx is their subscribers on YouTube is phenomenal, 54 million. So this is the quickest way to get that message out in front of people and start making some changes for people.
Okay, cool. And as an author, how many books have you written or in the process of writing so far?
So I'm just on my third. So two co-author books and then one that I wrote myself. But I wrote the other one a long time ago, and it's a very businessy book. It's very much like Secrets of Successful People. And I also did an NLP Masters a couple of years ago where I interviewed speakers who, speak and sell from the stage and interview speakers. So I've done quite a lot of research into the business side, but this is very much a different side. This is much more human. And it's for everybody, it's for the single mum, it's for the person who's out of work, it's for the person who, like me, had a life-changing experience that they then had to go, okay, how do I put my life back together? If you can imagine, when I first had the accident, I was in a health club, a 5-star health club. I had a hair salon and I had 3 children and I couldn't walk. So in terms of like cycling to work, going to classes, standing behind the chair and actually doing hairdressing, I didn't fit into my life at all. Not one single bit of me fitted into my life. And it wasn't a 6-week journey. It was a long journey of 6 months of not being able to even put my foot on the floor and being on crutches or being in a wheelchair, and lots of painkillers and stuff like that. So I'm sure that happens to lots of people where they're suddenly displaced in their life and don't have any support or don't have the system. Like, I'm not going to get into politics, but I will tell you that the system is rigged for you to feel sorry for yourself. They want you to feel sorry for yourself. I was hit by a car. So even when I would go and see my solicitor, she'd be like, you are depressed, are you? And you're in a lot of pain. And there were lots of leading questions in terms of how you should feel, how people feel like you should feel. And I didn't want to feel like that. I didn't want to be a victim. I didn't want to be a person that had no options and no choices. I wanted to be a person that made my own decisions and made my own life. So I speak on small podcasts. Say I've got one book that came out last year with James Redfield and Ken Honda. That's on the USA bestseller list on Amazon, and another one in March that's coming out, which is resilience, really. And that's all it is resilience. It's a bit of toughness. For me,
Fabulous.
that's how I feel. I'm not sure. I can't speak for other people, but for me, it was just like I just did what I felt I needed to do, and there was no big deal about it. And it wasn't until I started speaking and realised actually not everybody has that. And I think it's going to be a year of quite a lot of travel, unfortunately, or fortunately. I love flying, so it's good for me.
Yep, I can see that.
I think if you had a fear of flying, maybe this wouldn't be the right job to pick. I mean, I'm still a coach, so I still help business owners. I still train people to be speakers. I take people on the journey that I've been to come from. I mean, like if you'd asked me to speak 4 years ago, one of my coaches did ask me to speak 4 years ago, and I was like, "Who's going to listen to Debbie from Swindon? Who's interested?" And I actually turned him down when he asked me to speak in a room with just 45 people that I even had been training for 2 days, and I was like, "Nope, not speaking. No one's interested in what I've got to say." So I take people from that journey, from not being a speaker, not having the confidence to stand up and be counted, to applying for speaking engagements and conferences and running their own podcast and stuff. So that's something that I do as well as the speaking and the writing.
Fantastic.
And as on top of that, I have 3 children and 1 grandchild. And yesterday we just had the gender reveal for another baby that's arriving in June. So I like to keep busy, probably too busy.
Ah, yeah, of course.
But I do, I found in the last year that I have my values have changed. So since I've been speaking about this, my values have changed quite a lot. In that I was more an extrovert, and I think I've turned into an introvert extrovert over the last 18 months, where I've been on this journey of kind of discovering my voice, discovering other people's voices, and I do have a lot of time where I'm really comfortable in my own space, and I don't crave the manicness of that like really really hectic life. So I think I've got a fair balance now.
All right, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, it was a bumpy journey. It takes a while to get to that, to be honest. I famously had a mentor that told me to do nothing. And when I asked her what nothing looked like, she couldn't give me a list of what nothing was. And I found that really hard to deal with, because if I ask you to do nothing, what does that mean to you? What does that like how do you do nothing? How do you go from being a business consultant that's like available 24/7 and is literally um doing well successfully, but actually probably not being very kind to myself, to spending 6 weeks doing nothing? I would phone her up and say, well, should I be doing this? Should I learn to meditate? Should I do yoga? Should I do? And she would just say to me, what are you doing right now? What's making you happy? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. I'm just pottering around. And she would go, okay, well, carry on doing that. But I wanted a list of what nothing was. So I've kind of evolved, I suppose, in the last 18 months from not understanding how to do nothing to being able to go, do you know what? I'm quite peaceful without having to have um, that anxiety about working at 24/7. That if you're not doing something, that you're not succeeding.
Yeah, of course.
And I think that was probably my biggest learning curve.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we all do it, as entrepreneurs, we all go busy, busy, busy. We're busy being busy. We all like want to fill every single day with, I guess it's, as an entrepreneur, you're always chasing the high. You're always chasing the dopamine hit. And so if you're constantly busy and constantly achieving small things, then you're constantly chasing, you've got that high coming in, and learning to live with that constant high, which is actually really fight or flight and is very bad for you. Was what the nothing did for me. It taught me how to live without that, and to actually be more creative, be more relaxed, more just understanding what I'm doing and why I'm doing it.
Interesting.
It was a massive challenge. So, there's a lot of times I had to kind of shout at myself. really. Just, you want to go back into, like, my brain understands, if you work in chaos, it understands that I can create anything I want in chaos. To be able to create that in a calm, creative manner, in, for want of a better word, flow, is scary. You don't have the manicness, you don't have the madness, you don't have the succession. So, you know, what I'm trying to help and inspire people to pick themselves up, it's not to get them into that state. It's not to get them into a, oh my God, we have to do, like, when I first broke my leg, the first book I read was Bear Grylls. So I was like, if he can do it, I can do it. You know, mad comparison really, but that's where I was with my leg in a cage and 2 plates and 22 screws, thinking I can read a book and fix myself.
Interesting.
Mental when I think about it, to be honest. When I go back, it's, but that, I guess, was like my way of surviving. That was my way of processing what I was doing, was that if I could find somebody that was worse off or had been challenged more than me, then it gave me, it inspired me to say, okay, the worst case scenario doesn't have to be. And that kind of then loops around to where I am now, to say everyone has to give you the worst case scenario, but that doesn't have to be your path. It doesn't have to be your journey. It doesn't have to be your life. There's things that you can, you know, just because someone's given you a no, it just means you're the wrong person. Surgeon gave me 3 no's and then a yes. Had I asked, never, so had I never had those conversations, the very first operation, where they told me that my leg, I wouldn't be able to use it, I wouldn't be able to bend on it, and I probably wouldn't be able to stand on it, that would have been my truth for the last 13 years. That's quite scary.
Yes, it sure is.
Really scary, because I think, wow, I've done the bike ride, I've walked, I've cycled, I've swum, I've done the odd spin class, which apparently my surgeon said is not a good idea. I've done all the things, and now I'm where I was then. Probably physically, I'm where I was then, in terms of that now I don't have any cartilage in the legs, and I am bone on bone, but I'm still doing it. I'm still planning things. I'm still out there.
Nice.
Well, you lose your snooze, so use it. I have a very mentality of like, use it before I lose it. So one of the reasons for being a speaker is that my voice obviously works. So even when my legs don't work, my voice will still work, and I can continue to help and inspire people.
Incredible.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Where do you see yourself 20 years from now?
Oh wow. Well, I'm quite old. I'm 56 now. So 20 years from now, I'm hoping that I'm sitting on a beach with a cocktail. But I probably see myself still working. My dad's 78 years old, and he's just finished a Saturday job just to keep busy. I want to still see myself on the stages helping people, but also with a community of people that are going into just going into local communities, but having a community of people working with me that can go into local communities and make a difference, that can still be telling people, because we have recognized that mental health is a valid illness now for people, and we seem to have like a nation of people that are anxious and have anxiety, and I would love to be able to get to the root of that, and there just be some very easy guidelines and program for somebody to follow that feels themselves spiraling or feels themselves getting into a situation where they can't see the hope, and that there would be a way of communicating. I don't know, I've not really thought that far ahead, because I feel like I'm always very immediate, but I would love for there to be a legacy to be able to say, this isn't, when the car was about to hit me, I stood on a road, and when the car was about to hit me, I remember thinking, I'm going to die and this is going to hurt. And then 2 seconds later, my body just kicked in, and I was like, no, it's not happening. I'm not going. I'm not leaving my boys. They're not ready, and I'm not doing it. And I literally took 2 steps that changed my life, because the car hit where I was stood, had been stood previously. And then I ended up on all fours in the middle of the road, in the middle of the dual carriageway, and then had to call to the side of the road. I was like, oh my God, now I'm literally going to have to save my own life again. So I think from there to be, to then be told you're not going to be able to walk, to not be able to do that, it would have been easy to just accept those things. It would have been easy to just go, I'm going to die and not move. So I just really want that resilience for other people to find that inner resilience that they've got. And my legacy would be in 20 years' time that there is some method that people can use.
Yes. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
In 20 years, it's not where I'm living, it's how I'm living. And if I was still mobile in 20 years' time, if I still could be independent and be mobile, I wouldn't care where I was in the world.
Yes. If your mind was an island, what would it look like?
Um, wow, that's a really cool question. If my mind were an island, what would it look like? It would look right now. It would look okay. Actually, it would look. It would not look like chaos. If you asked me this 18 months ago, it would have looked like something that exploded, and that there was 20,000 people running around, all in different directions, all trying to do different things. If I look at my mind now, there's probably 5 people running around, all trying to do different things, and the island would be a little bit more. It would be pretty. I can't grow anything, so there'd only be wild things. But there would be 5 people on the island going, how about this? How about that? How about that in different areas of my life? And the
Yes.
aim would be, I guess, to get that to one person making the decision. But I thought I still have that shiny penny where I'll go, hey, let's do this, or hey, let's do that, or hey, let's do that. I've always got 4 or 5 projects on the go. So the speaking, the coaching, the book, I have my own podcast called Whatever It Takes. And obviously I have a family that is growing. So there's 4 different things right there.
Fabulous.
But I'm happy with that.
Great. What kind of coaching have you done throughout the years?
So I've been a coach for 25 years. I started in a corporate business, was a call center, and that was very much like training people that had just come out of training. So when they first started answering calls, they weren't trained enough because it was mobile phones and it was moving really fast. From there, I moved into travel. So I coached people that were at home running their own businesses. And then really, I came out of there and went into the hairdressing, and then was forced back. Obviously, I couldn't continue to be a hairdresser. So then I coach people in social media, how to find their customer, how to get their message, how to understand how to grow their business without killing themselves. And then now I teach people how to be visible, how to not be the best kept secret in the room. Well, the best kept secret in the room is usually the person who's brilliant at what they're doing, but they don't want to tell anybody. They think they're great and people will just come to them. And actually, the person who's rubbish at their job is getting all the wins. So, sometimes you have to stand up. I've become much more visible in the last year. I'm almost a social media pest, really. You can't move for seeing my stuff, my awards, my book, my magazines, my speaking engagements. But then that's opened lots of doors for me. And I've realized that you can't be shy and shy Debbie in the corner. You do have to stand up and tell people what you do and how you can help them, for them to understand and buy from you.
Yes, absolutely.
You are your own shop window, I guess.
Yeah,
So, and it's very hard to have a business that doesn't have a shop window, that people have got. If someone has to be educated about what you do, then you're doubling your battle.
absolutely.
Well, that's my opinion anyway. When I've had businesses that I've had beauty salons and spas and hair salons, and if I've ever had a treatment where I've had to educate somebody what the treatment is and then try to get them to purchase the treatment, it's a much longer process. So if I was to have a treatment now that was really well known and said to people, hey, we're doing this now and this is the deal for you, that's so much simpler because they understand what it is, understand what it does for the public. You explain what it does for them personally. And once you've explained what it does for them personally, then it's a buying decision of a yes or no. It's not a learning decision. And being the best kept secret in the room makes it a learning decision.
Yes,
And in a very crowded market, it's a dangerous place to be.
it sure is.
and we're not like obviously being in the UK, and I know it's a difference because I work with a lot of Canadians and Americans. So being in the UK is we're not really very good at that. We're not very good at shouting out loud in comparison to some of our American or Canadian partners who are great at going, do you know what? I'm absolutely fantastic and I am the best person that you can work with. So just stop messing around and come and work with me. And we don't do that in the UK, but we should.
Indeed. And that is all we have for this episode. It's great having you on, Debbie, talking about your work as a award-winning coach, best-selling author, a speaker, and many other things. It's been amazing.
Thank you. Well, thank you for inviting me. It's been a pleasant experience.
It sure was. And until next time, stay tuned for more.